Hello and welcome to today's Office Hours presentation. This is Paul Hoyt. Our Office Hours presentation is a relaxed, informal mentoring program that we do every Monday at noon Pacific time. All these recordings, slides, and exercises are archived in the members area on our website, and all of these recordings are available on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/Paul Hoyt. The reasons I do these is because being a successful business owner can be a great experience, but I know that it's tough. You need to have education, training, tools, and team to be successful. And I want you to get to know me, because when you get to know me, you'll realize that first and most importantly, I really do care about you. I want you to succeed in every area of your life, whatever that means to you. I want you to find the greatness, the happiness, the divinity within yourself, and then remember it, embrace it, and live it every single day as I do. My passion is to increase the survival rate, accelerate the growth rate, and reduce the struggle rate of businesses in America. And my vision is to help millions of CEOs and entrepreneurs accelerate their business growth and enjoy greater harmony and balance in their lives. And you can help by passing the word. If you find value in these recordings, value in these live presentations, then please pass them along to other people and suggest that they tune in on Mondays, sign up for our stuff, listen to some of the recordings. I'm doing everything I possibly can to really help CEOs and small business owners live a happier, healthier life through proper education, training, motivation, and inspiration. Our office hours agendas are usually an in-depth discussion of a business success principle. Then I offer some closing remarks, any special offers, and an invitation to next week's session. Then we go into open questions and answers and coaching. First, questions, answers, and discussion relative to the topic of the day, and then we open it up to anything that you want to talk about. So as you listen to the presentation, take notes, write your questions down, and if you're here live on the presentation, we may take you off mute and let you read your question out or say your question out to everybody on the call. And if you're listening to the recordings and have a question, by all means, send us an email. Contact information will be posted at the end of the call, and let us know what your questions are, and we'll follow up with you. Also encourage you to join us with the brilliant business groups on both Facebook and LinkedIn. On Facebook is facebook.com/groups/brilliant business. And for LinkedIn, it's http://bit.ly/brilliant business group, because they don't have any better links than that one, unfortunately. So I encourage you to join us, because we publish the business success principle of the day every day, or actually 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, on both Facebook and LinkedIn. And we do an energy of the day posting every day on Facebook. And during our call, I invite you also to join us on the Facebook group, because you can make comments, ask questions, share insights and takeaways. And our goal is 20 comments and likes in the Facebook group today. I want to also invite you to our next Awakened Conversation, which is part of the new Awakened CEO system that we put out a few months ago. We're having an interactive webinar with guests. We haven't chosen our guests for next presentation, which is on Wednesday, May the 27th at 6 p.m. Last time, we had Justin and Tonya Rekla on from Avant-Garde. They're due diligence experts and counterintelligence experts, and we had a great conversation. That recording is also available on my YouTube channel. I encourage you to listen to that if you haven't done so already. And watch your emails for sign-up information for our next Awakened Conversation. But today in Office Hours, we're going to talk about Psycho-Cybernetics, the book written by Dr. Maxwell Maltz and published in 1960, one of my favorite books of all time. I remember reading this book back in college and thought it was really great back then, and I know that I read it 10 or 15 years ago again, and I picked it up last week and was just delighted to find it, and was delighted to read it again and now be able to share with you some of the concepts and principles that he delineated in his book. As always, we relate the subject matter of the day to one or more of the key performance areas of business, and adjusting your self-image and being able to control your habits and your internal patterns of thought is really about leadership. It's about you taking self-leadership, leadership of your own personal self, focusing on professional growth and personal growth so that you can become the person that you want to be while you're building the business of your dreams. In the Awakened CEO system, we focus on 3 different levels of performance. We focus on mindset, We focus on methods, which is the how-to, the plans, the processes, the procedures, the policies that you put in place that enable you to do the things that you need to do well. And we focus on momentum, strongly encouraging people to get into revenue and then to accelerate growth until you build a comfortable momentum with your business. For some businesses, it's constantly increasing that momentum and constantly accelerating their growth. For other folks, it's just achieving a particular level of income and staying there, which means maintaining your momentum instead of increasing your momentum. And today's conversation is focused squarely on mindset with a whole bunch on methods. So we're going to be talking about the importance of your mindset when it comes to you achieving the things that you want to achieve. And in the book, Dr. Maltz offers some very specific practices that you can use in order to adjust your self-image. Today, we're going to talk about the author. We're going to talk about the fundamentals of psycho-cybernetics. We're going to talk about your self-image and the importance thereof. We'll give you some key practical points from the book and talk about the chapters in the book, because I think there's a lot to learn just by reading the title of the 15 chapters in the books. And then we'll sum it up all into the bottom line. Dr. Maxwell Maltz was a renowned plastic surgeon. He wrote a book called New Faces, New Futures in 1936 when he himself was only 37 years old. So he'd only been practicing cosmetic surgery, or they called it plastic surgery back in those days. He'd only been practicing for 8 or 9 years, but he was just delighted at the way that he was able to help somebody change their lives by helping them correct an issue that they had with their face. And in some cases, it was congenital. They were born with some sort of birth defect, a cleft palate or something thereabouts that he was able to correct. And in other places, it was because of an accident. Maybe they'd been in a car accident or some other accident that had caused them some sort of facial deformity. And he knew that when he fixed their face through surgery, that many, many people were able to change their lives and experience a brand new future. Because when they looked in the mirror, they saw a different person. When they looked in the mirror, they saw the person that they wanted to be, and they felt so much better about themselves that they could have brand new futures and really transform their life through changing their facial image. But he also found out, and this is the key, that some of his patients did not. They did excellent after surgery, but other ones did not. Some of his patients, even though he had fixed a facial problem that they had, they still didn't do well with their life. They still felt depressed or unworthy, or they had what he calls inner scars. And he theorized that people, in addition to needing an external facelift, that they could get great benefit from having a psychological facelift. And from that point on, he did years of research and testing to help his patients have the best possible outcome. And with his patients from that discovery on, in addition to giving them an external facelift, he developed the policies, the practices, and procedures that are in the book Psycho-Cybernetics to give them this internal facelift as well, this psychological facelift. And then he wrote this how-to book, which is Psycho-Cybernetics, in 1960. So for 24 years, he worked in between the publication of New Faces, New Futures and Psycho-Cybernetics to discover and refine and test out the procedures that he has in Psycho-Cybernetics. It's really a how-to book. It's really more of a textbook and a practicum than it is anything else. Psycho-Cybernetics then, in the book Psycho-Cybernetics, he originated the concept of the self-image. Think about that for a second. Prior to 1960, the word self-image didn't really exist in our vocabulary. People didn't have this concept at all about the way in which they saw themselves. It was just not a concept in our society. So he originated the concept of self-image and the importance of self-image. He also popularized self-affirmations and the visualization techniques, which are so popular by many other folks today. He proposed that no one could experience outer success above that which was visualized internally. And the concepts and techniques that he theorized are being used by Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, and many others. In fact, almost every motivational, inspirational, transformational expert on the planet today uses the concepts and principles which were first defined by Dr. Maltz in his book Psycho-Cybernetics in the 1960s. Before then, there was a lot of talk about perspective and a lot of talk about the way that you felt about yourself, but nobody had taken a scientific approach to it. And he, above all, as a surgeon, was a scientist. So he took a scientific approach. And he really popularized and crystallized the concept of what matters the most is how you see yourself. If you're able to take a look at the screen, you'll see one of my favorite little success pictures that you can find anywhere on the internet. I don't know who came up with this the first time, but it's a picture of a little kitty cat looking in the mirror and seeing a great big lion. He really developed the concept of the importance of self-image and seeing yourself in the way that you want to see yourself, as somebody that's worthy and capable, so that you can build your confidence and your courage and have the daring to move forward and achieve the dreams that you have. Psycho-Cybernetics then, cybernetics, by the way, is the science of automatic control system. He chose the name because in the 1960s and the late 1950s, we had the concept of guided missiles. So he liked the concept of psycho-cybernetics being that your brain is a cybernetic servo mechanism, a control mechanism, much like the computer mechanism was for a guided missile, that helped you find your way to your programmed target. The key is defining and then focusing on the target, much like a missile is pre-programmed whenever it takes off to go to a very specific target. He theorized and proved throughout his practices that you could program yourself for success, much in the same way that we programmed missiles to hit a target. You can program yourself to hit the target of your dreams by adjusting your internal servo control mechanism and through the process of cybernetics. And he posited that the most important thing was your self-image. Your self-image, the way that you see yourself, fundamentally provides your brain with the direction that it needs. And it's virtually identical to your goal image, the image of your desired future self. What he discovered is if you held an image in your mind about the way that you wanted to be, it became, over a very short period of time, your own self-image and the way that you saw yourself today. And he said that anybody that failed to do that, to accurately picture their future, was really an avoidance mechanism. And here's a great quote that I got from a research paper I read. If you fail to accurately picture yourself as you want to be, you leave your desires to atrophy in the shadows of your unconscious mind. Sit with that one for just a second. We all have desires. We all have things that we want to do, things that we want to have, the people that we want to be. But if you fail to accurately picture those desires and fail to accurately hold in your mind the visualization of a positive outcome, you are leaving those desires to atrophy in the shadows of your unconscious mind. Your self-image is like your internal success thermostat. No matter what's going on outside, the temperature will remain the same at your setting. Most of us have central heating and air conditioning these days. Some houses do not, but most of them do these days. And you know that when you set your thermostat to 72 degrees, that if it's 85 degrees, the air conditioner is going to come on. And if it's 55 degrees, the heater is going to come on. But you can generally regulate the temperature inside your house based upon that thermostat. Your self-image then becomes your psychological thermostat. The way that you see yourself, the way that you see yourself adjusts your worth barometer, your financial barometer, your consciousness barometer, your relationship barometer, is all based on the way that you see yourself. And when you set your self-image and when you adjust your self-image, you can adjust the experience that you're having with life. The setting that you have right now is your comfort zone, even if it's uncomfortable. It is what your brain is telling you at the subconscious level is the most comfortable place for you to be. And sometimes you have to step out in courage in order to change your internal thermostat, in order to change your cybernetic control mechanism so that you're programmed to hit a different target. Your self-image, and here's some quotes from the book, is all of your actions, feelings, and behaviors, even your abilities, are consistent with your self-image. If you believe you can do it, you can do it. If you believe you can't do it, you probably can't do it and probably won't do it. But fortunately, your self-image can be changed. Numerous case histories have shown that one is never too young nor too old in order to change his self-image and thereby start to live a brand new life. In his book, he offers many key practical points about how one goes about changing self-image, and here are some of them. First of all, he encourages you to understand the psychology of mental imagery and understand, through his analogy of cybernetics, how you can, through visualization and affirmation, change your internal mental imagery, which impacts your external reality. He also encourages you not to dabble, but put your heart into it, put emotion and passion into it. And we know that the way that we program ourselves at the subconscious level, the way that we change our habits, is through our passion, through the power of our emotions. And he encourages you not to dabble, but really put your heart and soul into the effort of changing your self-image. He encourages you to work at least 30 minutes per day for 3 weeks in order to change your internal self-image, and verbalize that. Discuss it, write it down in as much detail as you possibly can, because when you take it from your thoughts and start to write it down, you're taking the intangible and starting to make it tangible. And it becomes much more clearer to you. You begin to move these images out of your head and putting them into reality whenever you take the tangible, the intangible, and make it more tangible through writing it down and discussing it with others. He also encouraged you to take your problem focus and turn it into a solution focus. So don't spend very much time at all identifying the problem or discussing the problem or seeing the details of the problem. Spend most of your time, and my recommendation, by the way, is about 95 to 98% of your time focusing on the solution, because that's what, in fact, will come about for you. Other additional practical points are: assume that it's easy to do. I love this one. Assume that it's going to be very easy for you to spend 30 minutes a day focusing on having a positive self-image and focusing on the things that you want to experience in life. When you assume that it is easy to do, it becomes easy to do. Always remind yourself that your dream could happen. This really could happen. You could become the person that you want to be, and that it's easy to do. Picture a goal as if it's happening right now. And use a lot of words, because words build pictures. When you describe your dream, your goal in great detail, the picture begins to crystallize inside your mind. It becomes that much more powerful to you. He noted, by the way, that depressed people find it difficult to visualize. And conversely, that it's difficult to be depressed when you're absorbed in this picture of yourself and your future, when you're absorbed into your goal future. It is difficult for you to have a lot of shadow energy and a lot of depressed energy. I want to quickly review the chapters of the book, because the chapters of the book tell a lot more about the power of the message that he is delivering in the book. Chapter number 1 is on self-image, or key to a better life. Chapter 2 is on discovering this success mechanism that you have within you, the ability that you have to transform your self-image so that you can become a different person and experience a different reality. Chapter 3 is on imagination, your first key to your success mechanism. So if you can't just see it right now as it is, then imagine how it's going to be. Just pretend, daydream, to develop your own pictures however you want to develop them. Use the power of your imagination to be able to create this image of your future. In chapter 4, he talks about dehypnotizing yourself from false beliefs. Whenever you see yourself having a false belief, just canceling that out of your system. Just saying, I'm not going to think that thought anymore. I'm going to think the belief that I want to think. And then chapter 5 is on how to utilize the power of rational thinking, how to find reasons to believe that that which you want to achieve can be achieved, to believe that it actually can happen. In chapter 6, he talks about relaxing and letting your success mechanism work for you, to remove some of that desperation and some of that angst in your life. Assume that it's going to be easy. Assume that you can do it. Know in your heart and mind that you really can achieve that which you want to achieve. Chapter 7 is entitled, You Can Acquire the Habit of Happiness, and encourages you to know that you can transform yourself to being a happy, joyful, powerful person. Chapter 8 is on the ingredients of success, or ingredients of the success type personality and how to acquire them. We'll talk a little bit more about the success type personality here in a few minutes. Chapter 9 is on the failure mechanism and how you can make it work for you instead of against you. In other words, how can you transform those thoughts about failure and that fear of failure and transform them into powerful thoughts that will help contribute to your success. Chapter 10 is how to remove emotional scars and how to give yourself an emotional facelift or a psychological facelift. The last 5 chapters, chapter 11, is on how to unlock your real personality, the person you are when you are at your best, who I call the angel within, that part of each one of us where we have tapped into our greatness, where we have tapped into our happiness, where we've tapped into our divinity. He calls that your real personality, and invites you to explore how you can unlock that. In chapter 12, he offers do-it-yourself tranquilizers that bring peace of mind. And while there are always those moments in our lives when we feel a little bit anxious, when we feel a little bit upset, and he offers a lot of tips on how you can change your internal thoughts and the focus of your attention in order to achieve more peace of mind in the moment. Chapter 13 is how to turn a crisis into a creative opportunity. Chapter 14 is how to get that winning feeling. And the last chapter, chapter 15, is on more years to your life and more life in your years. I just love this book and the power of the possibility that comes from this book. One of the chapters was on the success personality or the success type personality. And he uses acronyms a couple of different places through this book. And in this book now, he has the success personality that he uses the first letter of the word success to define the different aspects of the success personality. First S is for a sense of direction, have a clear vision about who you want to become and what you want to achieve. Second one is having an understanding of the way that you transform your own self-image, the way that you transform yourself internally in order to help you achieve the success that you want. The C stands for courage, having the courage, the daring, the bravery, the boldness to be able to step out and believe in yourself and to take action in ways that are perhaps a little bit scary for you to do. Chapter 4 is on charity, thinking about giving back to others, becoming a person who is gracious and who is generous and who is friendly in their approach and in their personality. The E stands for esteem, which is about a very positive self-image. The second S is on self-confidence, and the last one is on self-acceptance. So he considers this to be the success type personality. Those people who are most successful in life have a clear sense of direction. They have a great understanding for who they are and how to transform themselves. They are courageous. They are charitable. They have a strong and powerful self-esteem, and they are self-confident and self-acceptance, have great self-acceptance. So here's the bottom line. The bottom line is, for self-image is everything. The brain, the nervous system, and all of the muscles are just obedient servants of the pictures that are in your head. Form those pictures in your head, and your nervous system, your brain, and the muscles in your body will react much like a missile is programmed for success with the internal computer system. Your self-image becomes your internal guidance system for your own success. And fortunately, we can all change our self-image. If we have a little bit of doubt, uncertainty, embarrassment, shame, guilt, sense of unworthiness, any of those shadow energies, we can change those and change our self-image. And in order to achieve the success that we want, focus on that vision of success every day and passionately. That's the bottom line of the book. In this book, we've talked about, or in this session, we talked about the author, we talked about the fundamentals of psycho-cybernetics, we talked about what your self-image is and the importance of that. We offered some key practical points from the books. I wanted to go through the chapters of the book because I really want you to get the book and read it, and we summed it all up into the bottom line. So here's your homework. First, buy the book. I know that you're going to love it. The Kindle version online is just not very expensive at all. It's going to be well worth the $7, $8, $10 you spend for the book, or the $15 or $20 that you spend for a hard copy of the book. Remember that this is one of those groundbreaking transformational works which formed the foundation and the basis for so much of the motivational, inspirational work and the transformational work that we've seen over the last 50 years. This was the basis of that, and I really encourage you to get it. I encourage you to cultivate your own positive self-image by doing these exercises for the next 21 days, 30 minutes a day, and doing them passionately. Focus on the person that you want to become. Focus on the things that you want to do and the things that you want to have. Passionately write them down, and you get coaching and support along the way from a coach or a buddy. And I think, by the way, a buddy system would be very, very helpful if you are up to the challenge of this 21-day challenge to transform yourself, to really impact your self-image and thereby impact the results that you have in your life. Because what matters the most is how you see yourself. We're going to open up the call for questions and answers here in just a minute. I invite you to have any comments and questions on the topic of the day, and then any other things that you want to talk about. I want you to tell me what your biggest takeaways are from the presentation and any insights that you gain, and tell me what you're going to focus on. I especially want to hear from people who are eager and excited to take me up on that 21-day challenge. Here at the Hoyt Management Group, our support services include services to help you learn how to do things yourself, to do things with you, and then to do things for you as well. So we offer a combination of education and training, do it with you services, and done for you or do it for you services as well across a lot of different areas. Our expertise is on business planning, strategic planning, financial models, capital engineering, sales and marketing, training and education services, product funnel development and implementation, and sales and support and marketing infrastructure services. I invite you to explore the many services that we have through a conversation with us. All you have to do is pick up the phone, and the contact information is going to be here in just a minute. I also invite you to attend our next Awaken CEO conversation, which is a week from this Wednesday. On Wednesday, May the 27th, we'll have a special guest. We'll talk about what it means to be an Awakened CEO and interview our guests about how their journey of personal and spiritual growth has interacted and is integrated with their journey of business growth. Our next office hours presentation will be next Monday, May the 25th. I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about yet, so you can let me know what topics that you would like for me to address by going to paulsurvey.com and filling that out, or giving us a call. And in between now and then, I encourage you to begin your homework, because I'm offering you 3 weeks worth of homework here today. So just begin your homework in between now and the next time that we chat. Now we're going to open it up for questions and answers and coaching. First, comments and questions on the topic of the day, and then any other issues that you might have. You're welcome to call me at the number that's on your screen, or send me an email to paul@paulhoyt.com. And you can go to schedulepaul.com and schedule a 15-minute or a 30-minute conversation with me. And schedulegrowth.com as well gives you an opportunity to schedule a conversation with Stephanie on our team. So with that, Stephanie, I'm going to open it up for questions and conversation. Do we have anybody that would like to share?
We do. Here's the first question. What's the difference between self-image and self-esteem?
I thought about that when I was looking at preparing this conversation, because I want to know the answer for myself. So the self-image is how you see yourself. Your self-esteem is how much you like yourself. So somebody can have a very poor self-image. They can look in the mirror, or anytime that they think of themselves, they can think of, oh, I'm ugly, or I'm not attractive to other people, I'm worthless, I'm not smart, I'm not capable, in which case they would have a self-image that reflected a tremendous amount of very poor self-esteem. On the other hand, somebody could see themselves and think of themselves as being a very capable person, a very attractive person, a likable person, a person that people wanted to be around and people wanted to work with and hang out with, and a very friendly person, a generous person, a kind person, in which case they're likely to have a very high self-esteem and a very positive sense of self-esteem. So that's the difference. Your self-esteem is how much you like yourself, and your self-image is the way that you see yourself. I see that one of our listeners has their hand up here. Lewis has his hand up, so I'm going to take him off of mute and invite Lewis to say hello to people, and if he has a comment or a question, to offer it to everybody. Lewis, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So I would like to know with one of my takeaways of this is looking at is the formation of good habits, and something that I have a fair amount of experience with through changing my habits and changing who I am from even just 10 years ago and current stuff has been through the formation of better habits and identifying those things that don't work as well. And I both wanted to throw out there the importance of this, even where it all starts with the self-image, but there's also many other things a part of bringing that forward, as whether it's changes in diet or exercise or what have you, and for those who need the help, the importance of habit-building software, external encouragement to get those habits going. And so I wasn't sure if everyone's pretty familiar with that process, or if they have any recommendations as to where to start. And if so, and something just popped up on my computer.
That's okay. So, I got it. I think I got the question, Lewis. So, and I 100% with you. And I think a good way of looking at our self-image is it's the habitual way in which we see ourselves. And by the power of his transformational process, this 21-day process, 30 minutes a day, very clearly seeing ourselves in the way that we want to see ourselves, we're in essence changing one of our habits. We're changing a habit of perspective and a habit of self-image through this process. And there are lots of other habits that we can change in much the same way. I did an office hours presentation 4 or 5 weeks ago, I think it was, on a book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, which really was a phenomenal book to me as well. Again, one of my top 10 books about how we develop habits in the first place and how we change habits. So for anyone out there who is interested in that, I would encourage you to listen to that office hours presentation and read that book as well. And because of that, by the way, one of the things that I would add to Dr. Maltz's recommendation of 30 minutes a day focus is when you get through with that process, reward yourself in some way. Have a handful of M&Ms, have a half a bite of cookie, have something. By the way, I'm a big fan of physical rewards because that really sinks into our subconscious condition. Reward yourself in some way physically when you're through with that 30-minute process, and it will help you change that habit or help you develop the habit of focusing on your self-image, or your goal image as he calls it. And you can use that same process of doing an activity and then rewarding yourself for the activity that you want to build as a habit through giving yourself that reward whenever you do something that you want to do. So thank you very much for that comment, Lewis. I really do appreciate that. That is exactly right, is that we are changing our habits. We are driving thoughts and principles and activities and into our subconscious condition and changing our habitual mind through the process that he recommends. Any other questions, Stephanie?
Okay. Next question. Have you studied psychology?
Yeah, I have. So as some of you may know, when I was in college, my degree's in psychology. I started out being a math and physics major, and then I changed to theater and sociology. As it turns out, I had about 8 different majors when I was in college, which means, of course, that I changed my major about every semester, which is what I did because I was interested in so many different things. And in the first part of my junior year, I changed my major to psychology. And then I realized that, hey, if I'm going to graduate from this college in 4 years, I better stick with psychology. So I did. So I do have a bachelor's degree in psychology, which I took, frankly, because I was trying to get my shit together. That's the language we used back then. I hope that doesn't offend anybody, but that means trying to get your stuff together, and get it together means simply that I was on my journey of wanting to be a happier, kinder, more friendly, more generous, loving, powerful, wise person. That started for me when I was 14 years old, and it continued into college. So I was very interested in what the psychologist had to say about the way that we transformed ourselves. So yeah, my degree is in psychology, even though my expertise at the time was working on computers. The college where I went was a very small college in Oklahoma, and they didn't have the possibility of having a degree in computer science, and the math professor and the physics professor were just not that much fun to be around. So I hung around with the psychology professors and then worked in the computer department at college in my spare time. So yeah, I do have a degree in psychology, but I think it's also important to say that I'm a very amateur psychologist. I didn't get a master's degree. I don't have a PhD in clinical psychology, as many of my friends and colleagues do. And it has not been my profession. It's been my avocation. It's been my passion to find ways to transform myself, so that now, I've become a coach and a transformational expert, but it wasn't through any advanced degrees in psychology that I came up with this knowledge. It's through finding out what works for me and reading fantastic books, and having dozens and dozens of coaches and therapists working with me especially over the last 12 to 15 years. So thank you for that question. I'm an amateur psychologist and a professional coach and professional teacher and trainer. Next question or discussion point, Stephanie.
How do I get started with this?
I think the way that you get started with this transformation process is to, first of all, decide that you can do it. I love his recommendation of assuming that this is going to be easy to do. So the first step then would be, let's just assume that this is going to be easy to do. Let's assume that it's going to be fun to do. Let's assume that you're really going to enjoy the process of thinking about the person that you want to become and knowing that that's the person that you are becoming. So first step is to assume that it's going to be easy to do. Second step, I think, is to figure out who it is that you want to become. What do you want to do? What do you want to have? And is most importantly, who do you want to be? And then begin writing that down. In your very first session, that first 30-minute session, would be very clearly writing down and verbalizing it, even saying out loud, this is who I want to become. This is who I am becoming, and beginning that transformation process. And I encourage you to get a buddy as well. I have this sense that if you had a transformational buddy, to where every day you would interact with each other in some way, be a phone call or an email or an instant message or some sort of a Skype or instant message communication, to encourage each other and remind each other to spend your 30 minutes every day focusing on that person that you are bound and determined to become, that it would be most helpful for you. So that's the way that I would encourage you to do that. I guess I set forth 3 steps there off the top of my mind. Number 1 is assume that it's going to be easy to do and enjoyable to do. And in fact, set up a little reward so that every time that you do this 30-minute exercise, at the end of it, you reward yourself in some way. Pat yourself on the back by giving yourself a handful of M&Ms or a piece of cheese, or whatever delights you in some way, a little snack, a little treat, a little piece of candy in some way, so that you can reward yourself for spending 30 minutes in a very positive way. Then begin by crystallizing in your own mind who it is that you want to become, the attributes of your future goal image self, and focus that, write it down, verbalize it, say it out loud, and find yourself a buddy would be step number 3. Somebody that you can go on this journey with and support every single day for the next 21 days. That would be my encouragement. Hope that was helpful. Next question.
We have a question here who's asking, where can I find a buddy? I know that sometimes in the past, when I've been looking for a buddy, I would talk to a stuffed animal in a chair. Where, just somebody who can absorb my chat. Where can we find a buddy, Paul?
I think you can reach out to a friend. I think that if you just sit in your silence for a little bit and check in with your own inner guidance, that you're going to think of that person that you would like to have a buddy here. And if you need a buddy, I invite you to reach out to us too, because we may be able to find one for you. You can reach out on Facebook, you can reach out on LinkedIn and saying, hey, I'm looking for somebody who will support me and go through a 21-day transformational challenge. It'll only take you just a few minutes a day to support me. You may ideally you would find somebody who also would invest the 30 minutes a day, and you could support them in the same way they're supporting you. And if you can't find that person, then find somebody who will at least volunteer to listen to what you have to say and give you that encouragement, and maybe even that little support through an email or a phone call or some sort of instant message on social media, and remind you of the commitment that you're making to go through this 21-day challenge. So that's what I would encourage you to do. And if you can't find one through your own inner guidance or through your own connections, then reach out to us and we'll do what we can to help you find that buddy too. Great question.
This reminds me of the advice that I've gotten from many of my coaches, in that we are the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So this reminds me of an opportunity to get out there, and when we're looking for buddies, to find those groups where potential buddies are. That will help support me in becoming that person that I want to be.
Great. I love that. Any other questions and comments on the topic of the day, or anything else that you want to talk about? Go ahead, Stephanie.
I'm not seeing any. Or Darlene has her hand up. Let's unmute Darlene.
I'll do that. Darlene.
Hello.
Hello.
So back to the question of the difference between self-esteem and self-image.
Uh-huh.
I've been studying a lot about the difference between self-confidence, like confidence in myself to do something, and belief in myself. And I've recently learned that there is a distinction, because I always thought, well, if I'm confident, I can do it. But I realized I didn't have the belief in myself. I had the confidence, but I didn't have the belief in myself. And that all ties into self-esteem somehow, but I'm trying to figure that out.
One of the most interesting things about life to me, not just business and the conversations we're having today, is the wisdom that words are labels on concepts. So what that means to me is that when you use words like self-confidence and esteem and belief and conviction and opinion and truth, that all of those words have slightly different meaning for me than they do for other people. A lot of times I see people play what I call the definition game. And essentially they say, you don't use this word correctly. That the way that I use this word is the only proper use of the word. And if you understood the true definition of a word, and if you agreed with my definition of the word, then you'd be a lot smarter, or you'd gain some value from that. And I am oftentimes challenged. I've actually gotten up and walked out of presentations before, where the guru at the front of the room started out by playing the definition of the game, the definition game, which is essentially setting themselves up as an expert and saying that all you other people out there in the audience don't know what you're talking about because you don't agree with my way that the terms are being used. So the relevance of that is that, self-confidence, belief, opinion, truth, self-acceptance, all those different terms have different meanings to them. What I would encourage you to have is if you're use the word self-confidence in the same way I have, which is how confident that you are in your ability to accomplish something, that you increase your self-confidence. And the way that we increase our self-confidence is through brain training, like Dr. Maltz recommends, and through actual experience. You know, nothing breeds success like success. When we accomplish something that's small, it gives us reason to believe at a deep subconscious level that we can accomplish something a little bit larger, and then a little bit larger, and then a little bit larger. Our self-confidence increases along the way as our success increases along the way. We take these little steps of accomplishment that begin to increase our self-confidence. So when the gentleman was using the word belief, you know, to say that, you know, it's not your self-confidence, it's your belief, I don't resonate very well with that language, because I use a different definition of the term belief. Belief to me is anything that you hold to be true. We can have strong beliefs, we can have hunches, we can have light ideas, we can have convictions, and a conviction is a belief that is almost unassailable, that is so strongly held that you're not even going to consider that it might not be true for everybody or true for you in some way. So I encourage you to, whenever you see somebody playing the definition game, to recognize that that's what that is. And I'm usually pretty open about that. I think that that's a real sense of wisdom, is to recognize that not everybody uses the same language that I use, that they speak a similar language, but not exactly the same language. And for you, Darlene, I know that I have seen you for years, and I think it is years now, really move forward in the direction of your dream through great courage and daring and bravery and boldness, and overcome a lot of obstacles along the way. I admire your determination. I admire your persistence, your tenacity, and your commitment to building the business of your dreams. I think you have a lot to be proud of, and a great source of self-confidence in the person that I see you becoming, and in the things that I've seen you accomplish over the years. So let me just reach out with that virtual hug and that virtual pat on the back, and let you know how much I respect you for the work that I have seen you do and the accomplishments that I've seen you make over the years. Okay?
Well, I really appreciate that, Paul, and I received that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you're going to see more great things.
Amen to that. Amen to that. I love that. I'm going to put you back on mute and invite any other person who wants to speak up or who offer us a question in the window about this topic of the day, the power of self-image and the way that we transform ourselves, or any other topic related to anything, I guess. Stephanie, do we have any more?
Yes, there's one more.
Okay.
Can you chat a little bit about the power of actually the verbal affirmations? It's something that I truly struggle with, and again, if it's something I can't do, I do put a stuffed animal in a dang chair just so that I can get started.
I love that.
Can you talk about that?
I do. Let me talk about that a little bit, because there's a lot of power in that, of reminding yourself of what you're capable of when you're at your best. And I think there's a distinction in between reminding ourselves of what we know that we're capable of, seeing ourselves to what we suspect that we're capable of or want to be capable of, and then saying something that we know is just not true. So, for example, if I have a self-affirmation that says, you know, I'm going to be a great NBA basketball player, and I just look at myself in the mirror and I say that over and over again, I'm a great basketball player. I'm a great basketball player. I'm a great basketball player. I can beat Michael Jordan. I can beat LeBron James. I can beat Stephen Curry. I can beat anybody. I'm a great basketball player. Well, you know, that's crazy. That ain't going to happen. And you know that's true. Now, no matter how many times I look in the mirror and say that, you know, I'm going to be the next MVP of the NBA, it ain't going to happen. And I think subconsciously, I know that it ain't going to happen. You know, I'm 60-some years old. I'm only 5'6". I can't jump anymore. There ain't any freaking way that I'm going to be the MVP of the NBA. When we use a self-affirmation that is something that our subconscious mind just violently disagrees with, I think it's counterproductive. Not only do we say there ain't any way that you're full of crap, but we also then begin to devalue the power of affirmations. But you can have affirmations that work extremely well. Let me give you some examples of these. When I am at my best, I am a generous, kind, joyful person. When I am at my best, I am powerful and confident. When I am at my best, I am wise, I am peaceful, I am a loving, generous, forgiving, compassionate person. I think that's true about every single one of us. When we are our best, we are that person. And if we add a little something to that that says, and I'm determined to be at my best more often. When I'm at my best, I am a wonderful person. I am determined to be at my best more often. Here's another one that I picked up from Emotional Freedom Technique. Even though this is true, I am still willing to believe in something else. Even though I have not achieved the success that I want to achieve in my business so far, I am willing to believe that with persistence, determination, tenacity, and commitment, that I will achieve the success that I so deeply desire. That's another really strong, powerful form of affirmation. So I am willing, even though this is true, I am willing to believe. And when I am at my best, I am, are great, great affirmations that I use and have used in the past a tremendous amount. They're so much more powerful than that. They're very believable at the subconscious level. We know that those are true, and it gives us confidence and increases our positive self-image and enhances our positive self-esteem when we use affirmations and visualizations in what I think is an appropriate way. Again, as I said earlier, if we use an affirmation, if you're just looking in the mirror and saying, you know, I'm a great salesman, I'm a great salesman, I'm a great salesman, that ain't going to work very well. But if you can replace that with language and verbalizations and affirmations that really help you tap in to that greatness, that happiness, that divinity that we all have within ourselves, then I think you can do a tremendous amount, that you can transform yourself, you know, very, very quickly. I hope that was inspirational to you. We're coming to the top of the hour. Stephanie, do we have any more comments or questions?
Nope, that's it. I was looking, thought I saw one more, but that looks like it's it.
Well, then I want to thank everybody who's listening to the recording or tuned in to the presentation today live. Next Monday, we're going to have another office hours presentation. Let me know what you would like for me to talk about on next Monday, and also think about joining us a week from Wednesday on May the 27th for another Awakened Conversation. And until we meet again, this is Paul Hoyt wishing you a most marvelous and prosperous day. Bye-bye.